Hey everyone, this is Brian from Vance Hines. Thanks for joining me on another Fuelpak Friday. Just to give you guys a heads up, this will be the last of our weekly Q&A sessions. We're going to try something a little bit different next week. We're going to start doing sort of like live tutorials. So we'll kind of go through the different functions of the Fuelpak FP3, and we'll talk about how to use them, how to be more efficient, and to utilize the multiple functions that are found within the Fuelpak FP3. So for today, since this is the last day, we're going to be doing Q&As for some time. By all means, go ahead, throw any questions you want out there, and we'll go ahead and get them answered for you. Also, keep in mind that this weekend we are going to be at the King of the Baggers race, which is really, really cool. So everybody go ahead and tune into that. Really fun, really exciting racing. The first time I've seen my wife like jump up and down on the couch as far as like motorcycle racing is concerned. So really, really cool spectator event for everybody. Everybody says good morning, good morning, good morning. Another big thing is Monday, on Motorsports Monday, we're going to have a very special live guests. Angel, Eddie, and Andrew will all be present and talking about the NHRA Pro Stock season. And I'm not sure if they'll be taking questions, but we'll see. They usually do. So again, we're here for you guys' live questions. It's the last of our weekly Fuelpak Pro Q&As. Go ahead and throw the questions out there, and we will get the ball rolling. Just check over here, make sure I didn't miss anybody on Instagram. First one I got, of course, is about 2021 Fuelpak FP3. So we're still currently working on it. Feel like we're making really good headway, good progress. But we're not having it be out. We still don't have an ETA, so I'm not sure when it's coming, but just know that we are working on it. And so far so good. We're getting there. Iron Carter says hello. Good morning. Let's see, Roguelite.Switzerland says, does it make any difference if I have enhances or bigger battery cables and spark plugs? So typically, as far as the map is concerned, as far as the actual calibration in your Fuelpak FP3 that's getting flashed to your ECU, having, upgraded spark plugs, larger spark plug wires, etc., battery cables, those things really don't make that much of a difference as far as the tune is concerned. You don't need to change anything for it. It's just something that's going to basically control or benefit your ignition system. So, back in the day when you had sort of like a nose cone ignition, stuff that was controlled off of, the VOE-S switch from like carbureted models, you would actually need to change it, or you would get one in a kit that had like a single fire versus a dual fire ignition. Those days are kind of gone. Everything's dual fire, and it's all controlled through the ECU. So basically, long and short is, if you change the spark plugs, if you go to a slightly different gap, if you go to iridium, if you go from like a 2-prong to a 4-prong or whatever, anything outside of like the OEM Harley one, which for the most part is all I typically recommend, and that's what I run in my bike, is just the standard Harley spark plug, then you're pretty much in good order. Nothing needs to change in the map, and you're good to go from there. See, Iron Carter says 2019 M8 FP3 with V&H True Duals, Reinhardt 4-inch baffles. Told I ruined my low end. So that can and can't be true. Typically what happens is if you go with like a true dual style system, you won't have the aiding as far as like the scavenging from one pipe to the next. So you sort of lose that bottom end torque there. But with a true dual and a more open muffler, you will have a lower bottom end compared to what you could have had if you went with something like a power duals. So this is one of the things I sort of talk about usually with people is true duals versus power duals. Power duals for most people, for most riding conditions and for most performance applications, is the better option to choose. It's more expensive, but you make up that cost as far as performance. True duals, I typically don't recommend for people who are looking for numbers, people who are looking for performance. The rideability is not quite as high. It's more inexpensive, which is one of the main reasons they do sell pretty well. I typically recommend them to people who like the sound of True Duals headers, someone who wants that like more aggressive kind of lopey sort of idle, and wants that look. So for me, going with something like a Dresser Duals is more of a look or a sound or like a feel kind of thing rather than performance numbers. Now, again, that's not to say like you've completely ruined your low end. You haven't lost all that much. You actually only lose like, I don't have a dyno chart with me, obviously, but it's not that substantial, and you still perform better than stock. So you haven't like ruined it. You're still better than you were beforehand, just not as good as you could be, if that makes sense. But yeah, 19 FP3 True Duals and Reinhardts, you should be fine. Just remember, it's still better than stock. You're not ruining anything. And it looks better and it sounds better. Terrence says, "Hey man, we need more California compliant pipes for emissions at home." So there's a couple things we were looking at, and we actually did a program a while ago. So almost 5 years ago. God, I've almost been here for 5 years. Almost 5 years ago, I was hired to run the testing department for engineering and R&D, and our main focus when I was hired was to be looking at exhausts that were compliant. We had a system called the CTR system. It was basically a catalytic converter power duals with the cats up in the headers rather than down in the mufflers. And that could be paired with high outputs, eliminator, twin slash, or oversized 450s. No, I take that back, monster rounds. So you basically would pick the muffler, we would tune it. We had a California approved tuning solution called FPC, the Fuelpak compliant, and it would only flash one map into the ECU. And it was really cool. It was like a little tiny dongle. You'd plug it in, you'd hold the hazard button down for like 20 seconds. That would, through the CAN bus, tell the system it was trying to flash. It would flash the one map for the muffler configuration that you chose, and then that was it. And if you press and hold it for another 20 seconds, it would flash the stock map back. So all very California friendly, really, really cool. Still locked down. I think it was like 200 degrees temperature difference on my boot compared to everything else. And as much as I love that system, and I'm really, really proud of the hard work that my team and I put into making that a reality and making it happen, they just didn't sell all that well. They didn't move as many as I was hoping they would move. And so that sort of killed other California compliant programs we were planning on rolling moving forward. So unfortunately, the fact that we developed it, we put all this time into it, energy, untold sums of money. I don't even know, but I can't imagine it was that cheap to do it, running like an entire department. I mean, at a certain point, like we would go to the test loop. The test loop was 42.7 miles, and all the mileage accumulation had to be done on the test loop. And that means that total, the motorcycle had to have something like 11,420 miles done on a 42.7 mile loop. So what would end up happening is we would go to the test center, we'd pick up the bike, we'd loop, 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 tag out, tag the next person in, drive, drop it off, get up and do it the next day. So we were putting like 12 to 16 hours of ride time on a bike through the heart of coastal Orange County every single day for months. And as a result, we did get it to pass and everything was great, but they just didn't move as well as we were hoping. And as a result, we don't have that many compliant products. Now, that being said, that's from a header standpoint. All of our touring slip-ons that are cat back are 50-set compliant, deemed OEM replacement parts. So those are good. All of our VO2 air cleaners are now carb compliant, with the exception of the new VO2 America, because it's running that upgraded backplate style for the Milwaukee 8 versions. Really, really cool new backplate. I'm super stoked on it. It was developed with our Racing Development Center, RDC. Andrew designed it. It's got a whole new velocity stack. Super cool. And the VO2 America is the first system to get that. So that one is not carbon approved because just it's so new and it's a new SKU number. And you have to have a list of SKUs for CARB to identify what is and is not compliant, what is not approved, not approved, compliant, covered. So yeah, well, we have a lot of stuff. Slip-on mufflers, anything cat back. VO2 air cleaner. We do offer a CARB approved carb FP3. Maps are limited to carb approved systems, so keep that in mind. Luis Vasquez asks, is there a list of shops that have pro tuners and can tune FP3? Yeah, so there are. If you go to the fuelpakpro.vancehines.com page, go to support, you'll actually see a map that has a lot of the Fuelpak Pro dealers. I say a lot rather than all, because we made the map opt-in. If you want to be on the map, let us know when you do the Fuelpak Pro dealer server registration. We'll put you on the map. If you do not want to be on the map because people are worried about things like tuning and compliance and whatever their state's laws are, and we have nothing to do with it, they're adults, it's up to them, then basically they can opt to not be in the map. So if they opted to not be in the map, they're not there. If that's the case, I'd recommend just calling dealers near you, calling tuners near you, see who has a Fuelpak Pro. But I toured around the country with that thing for almost a year, so there's a lot of those out there. All right, let me bounce over to Instagram because I feel like I've been ignoring you poor people. Shooter 27263 says, can I tune my stock map and how? So the stock map is going to be at the 0 slot. What you'll want to do is if you go to an empty slot on an Android, press and hold, you'll get a copy button up in this corner here. Press the copy button, select your stock calibration, it'll copy to a new map slot, and that new map slot you can edit. So you can auto-tune it, you can manually tweak it, you can change the stop pop, you can change throttle settings, you can do whatever you want to do with that copy of the stock map. Same thing's true for the iOS model, you basically just do a slow swipe, copy, paste it down somewhere else, and then you can modify it to your heart's content. We just don't allow you to modify the OEM stock version, in the sense that if you ever wanted to revert back or we need to restore some system settings, then it is there. However, make a copy, edit it all you want. Let me just scroll through here real quick, make sure I can catch up a little bit. In the meantime, as fast as I have stage 2 tweaked by V&H rep in Daytona, still kind of sluggish. Yeah, for a lot of those stage 2 applications, we've got really good base calibrations. Anytime we do a stage 2, unless it's one that I've done personally here in the dyno, I refer to it personally as a base calibration. It's never going to be 100% unless you get it tuned with widebands in a dyno or out on the road. So I would try to find a FuelPak Pro dealer near you. If you want, you can shoot me an email at fppro@vancehines.com, Louise, and I can see if I've got somebody near you. There are people, again, that I know of that are not on the map. So if you want, let me see if I can hook you up with a FuelPak Pro dealer. Get tuned, and we'll sort of go from there. So fppro@vancehines.com. Real Glide out Switzerland said, thanks. Second question, auto-tune is really needed for better or don't do it? It depends. So if you're outside of the US and the fuel is drastically different than what we have here, basically long and short is if you can run a standard map from us, say like short shot staggered on a Sportster or whatever, then you don't get any O2 sensor codes, you're golden. Just run with the fuel, run with the map. Automatic fuel trims based upon the values coming from closed loop mode in your front and rear oxygen sensor will trim the values for the volumetric efficiency tables, which is basically to say that as you ride it around, the fuel is going to get adjusted automatically within a certain range. More than likely, you won't need to auto-tune it. If you want to have that range be zeroed out, have it like a center point, then you can run an auto-tune 2 or 3 shorter 20 to 30 minute sessions, and that will get you there. Let's see. Vipresh Kanami says, currently have twin/3 on my FXDC. I'm looking big shot staggered. Will I get more performance from it, or is it just more sound? You'll get a little bit of both. The nice thing about a big shot staggered versus a twin/, is we have that separate collector chamber. It's hidden, but it's there. So it acts almost like a 2-to-1-to-2. Now, your twin/ slip-ons will have some of that because it's got a big crossover pipe, but it's so long that it doesn't really take advantage of everything that it could as far as like scavenging is concerned. So it'll help a lot. Yeah, you'll make a bit more performance, not a ton compared to stock, but you will have a slight improvement, and it'll definitely sound better for you. He also goes back to say, you already do with FP3 and a heavy breather. Not sure if I switch to big shots or keep the twin/. It's an international one, so my cats are in the headers currently. Yeah, so if you were to swap it out to big shots, there would definitely be a noticeable improvement, just because of the cat delete. And then you'll definitely want to go with a new FP3 map in order to get that tuned. I can't see through my own thing. So Virgio says, so we're allowed to get headers as long as we also buy catalytic mufflers. So the answer to that in California, for the most part, is yes. You cannot remove original equipment pieces from a motorcycle as far as California is concerned. So if the bike came with catalytic converter, it needs to stay with the catalytic converter. Now, you'll find it very hard to buy just the cat muffler separately and then put whatever header you want on it. The problem is you can't buy an open header and then like promise to put a cat muffler on it. California doesn't work that way. They'll make you buy it as a whole kit. So when we offered like our monster rounds, we actually had catalytic monster rounds for a bit there. You would have to order the power duals, but they came with the catalytic mufflers. So it was a package deal. You'd have to buy the whole thing in one shot. And it was the only way that we could get that stuff carb approved. That was sort of the opposite, the inverse of what we did with the CTR header, which is you get the cat in the header, and then you can put on one of these 5 muffler options and tune one of these 5 muffler options per the FPC, and that would also be approved along with our VO2 air cleaner. So it was this whole big package. And I think one of the reasons it maybe didn't sell as well as it could have is it was a little confusing to buy. You had to basically buy the CTR header, you had to buy one of the 5 mufflers that were pre-approved, you had to buy the corresponding FPC for the muffler, and you had to buy a VO2. It was one big performance package, and so it does make a bit of a difference. So as far as like having cats in the mufflers, yeah, that makes it compliant, but you'll have to buy the whole kit, depending on which manufacturer it is, because that's just how California rolls. All right, let me screw those. Jar says, I wish I could grow a beard like yours. Mine was really thin for a while, and then I got older, and then it thickened up. And also, I stopped trimming it so damn much, and it helps. Iron Carter says, if I change cam on my M8 with True Duals, is there a tune for that? Any cam may work better with my True Duals. So cams actually will exacerbate issues with True Duals headers, particularly on Milwaukee 8s. I haven't seen that many Milwaukee 8 bikes with cams and True Duals headers that perform to a level that they should. Once you go to a cam and once you go with float heads or a big bore kit, then your exhaust choice is just more important. If you choose the wrong exhaust, if you choose the wrong mufflers, if you choose the wrong header, then you're leaving a lot of performance on the table. Something like a True Duals with a cam leaves performance on the table. So in that recommendation, I would typically say if you're going to do the cam, upgrade to the Power Duals. You'll get more performance numbers out of it. It's going to help with the camshaft as far as the tuning is concerned. It's not going to be as difficult to tune. It'll run more freely. It'll have more power. There's really no downsides to getting rid of True Duals and swapping them out for Power Duals. Typically, what I recommend doing is if they do that decision, buy the Power Duals, install them on the bike, take your True Duals, and then get rid of them. Sell them on eBay, Craigslist, wherever. But cams plus True Duals, particularly on Milwaukee 8, from what I've seen, hasn't been the best combination. So ideally, if it were me, if it were my bike, if I were putting cams in it, I would swap headers. Yeah. Let's see. Make sure here. Thinking about going with an SNS Hooligan big bore kit. Do we have a map for that with an aftermarket cam or with any aftermarket cams? Yes, we do. High beam Tommy. We have 883 1200 kits built into the FP3 app. So if you go to search for a map, most people are running short shot staggered. We have a couple conversion maps for other pipes, but that's like the main one. So hypothetically, short shots. I know you're running, I think it's a comp 2-to-1. I want to say they're there for comp 2-to-1s as well, Tommy. So comp 2-to-1, and then you select which baffle, and then under displacement or engine size, you'll actually see one that's labeled 883 to 1200 conversion. Select that. Then down at the bottom of the map, you'll see like a little yield warning sign, basically reminding people like, hey, if you've got an 883, don't put a 1200 tune in your bike. Make sure that you have completed an 883 to 1200 conversion. We can go from there. So we offer those conversion maps. We also have worked with Aaron from Ham Performance, who supplied us with spark tables for his 1200, 1250, and 1275 kits. So we offer those as well. With a number of different camshafts. So give us a call. You can contact help@vancehines.com. You can call our support line. Our team is available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Pacific Standard Time. You can also contact us on live chat those same hours. If you contact live chat on a weekend, no one's going to answer you. So in that case, I would recommend help@Vance&Hines. Right now, the team is hitting emails hard. And I know we were a little bit behind, but we should be completely caught up with emails today. So that is the goal. Otherwise, you can call them or email them or live chat them. But we do have maps available for the 1200s. What we also have 1250 and 1275 kits as well. Triaco says, got the big shots. Italy, police don't like them. We also do offer for those quiet baffles and super quiet baffles. 21301 and 21912, I think, are the numbers. Super quiet baffles are definitely going to tone it down a little bit louder than stock, but still have sort of that like bump, 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 bump kind of noise to it. Quiet baffles tone it down a little bit. You're basically looking at a 2 to 3 decibel reduction per baffle type. So if you go from standard to quiet, it's 2 to 3, and then an additional 2 to 3 for the super quiet. So something to think about so you don't have to deal with it. Vance Marler on Facebook said, why did you quit making the exhaust for the V-Rod muscle? I actually had a gentleman kindly accost me at the dealership not too long ago regarding that. So there's a few countries where the V-Rods are really, really huge, where they're like a massively popular bike. But unfortunately, Harley stopped making the V-Rod, and they stopped making it some time ago. So we watched sales numbers just decrease and decrease and decrease and decrease year after year. Unfortunately, the time you spend manufacturing systems that aren't selling very well is time you could be spending manufacturing systems that are selling well. So it's not that we stopped making them because people weren't buying them. It's just that not enough people were buying them where we could make something else and have more profitability. So that's kind of the general rule of thumb. It's why a lot of the legacy systems got discontinued. It's why things like, what am I thinking of? Not long shots. Anyway, there's a number of systems we used to make that we don't make anymore because sales were dropping off, and that time in manufacturing could be spent or better used more productively elsewhere, for more profitability for ourselves, the distributors, and our dealers. Looking fueling 55515 Cam said High Beam Tom says, yeah, I think we got a couple guys running those. Bill McCulley says ETA on map for 21 HD Sport Glide. Progress is good. No ETA on 2021, unless you're a sports droner, in which case then the 2021 maps are already out there. When's the Pan America pipes out? I don't know. Those things are selling like crazy. I'm not sure we can even get our hands on a Pan America. So yeah, in a perfect world, I'd love to have one, make a pipe for it, but I don't know when that would be. Cool. I think we caught up with everybody's questions. This is awesome. All right, so if you guys have anything else, go ahead and throw them out there. Otherwise, we'll call it a day. Remember, this is the last chance we'll have to do this for a while. In the future, we're going to keep it to just like one topic only, which means we'll sort of talk about like how to connect to the unit, how to flash a motorcycle, how to use the decel menu, how to use GPS speedometer calibration, how to change your throttle progressivity. We're kind of going to do like live how-to videos with brief Q&As based upon that video's content. So over the next, I don't know, 2.5 months, we're going to focus on that. Obviously, if you guys ask questions, I'll answer them throughout the day on social media. So if you catch this later, drop your question in the comment section below. I'll check back through our business Facebook page, and I'll answer anybody's Facebook or Instagram questions throughout the day. So right now I'm not checking too much. High Beam Tommy says, any maps for high octane fuel? No, we basically do all of our mapping here in the dyno with what Harley recommends in the US, which is 91 minimum. So we do all of our mapping at 91. If you have something that's a higher octane than that, that's usually when I recommend running an auto tune. And then I'd also question why you're running a higher octane fuel. Higher octane fuel for the most part is adding resistance to detonation. So unless you're having like pinging or detonation issues, or your motor is like that high compression that increased resistance to detonation is required, for the most part, you're just going to throw money at it and it doesn't change a whole heck of a lot. You might feel like a tiny little bit of power, but on a dyno, it's a pretty imperceptibly, it's a small amount. It's not a huge amount of change. Yeah, you throw a bunch of money at it, and unless you're dealing with like pinging or pre-ignition issues, and that's what high octane is designed to stop, is to kind of get rid of that sort of, to have that resistance to detonation, then you may or may not need to do that. Jar says, bought a 21 Scout Bobber ABS, want twin slash exhaust. Once installed, do I need to tune it? In a perfect world, yes, I would recommend it. I know that swapping those out, we tuned them here, and it was a very marked difference. It's just that our FuelPak LCD for the Indians was discontinued. Again, not very high sales numbers. You might be able to find some new old stock ones on eBay, maybe some local ones. They don't marry themselves to any one vehicle, so you can use them again and again on multiple bikes. But they do have to be hooked up at the time to work. So there you go. Crucial hit. Have a lovely weekend, buddy. And that's it. I think we're caught up all. So thank you guys for joining me on another Fuelpak Friday. Again, all new thing next week, new format, same time probably. And we'll go from there. On top of that, don't forget to check out the King of the Baggers race this weekend, where Vance Hines will be competing. And then Monday, for Motor Sorts Monday, Angel, Eddie, and Andrew will be live. So don't forget to tune in for that. Thank you all for another Fuelpak Friday. And have a good weekend, everybody.